Hey guys, I know it's strange seeing my face twice in 1 week, but last night I stayed up and watched The Biggest Loser. I'm a huge fan, and this year I am such a fan of Shay. She looked great on the last day. She has still weight to lose, but she was a really big girl, and she's done wonderful. Now, I want to play this little video right now that I took of the TV, and I want you to just kind of listen in to what the doctor says about mortality rates. Here it goes.
Losing literally 25 years of life out of both years. So it was a medical emergency to get both of you to lose weight, but how to do it, because all the experts say you only have one choice, bypass surgery. But what happens? I mean, they say, oh, people your size can't exercise. Physically, you can't walk more than a couple miles. They say our exercise-centric approach isn't going to work. But what they don't tell you is when people your size have bypassed surgery, you have up to a 1 in 10 chance of dying within the first year. So that...
Did you hear him? He said a 1 in 10 mortality rate after gastric bypass surgery. I thought, wow, that doesn't seem right. You know, if I had a 1 in 10 chance of dying after having gastric bypass surgery, I may not have elected to do it. I don't think my risks outweighed that. So I was shocked, and I did some investigation, and I looked up, I went to a few, medicine journal, the American Medicine Journal, whatever, online, and found out that he wasn't really right. It's actually 1 out of 350 people usually die post gastric bypass surgery. And this is taking in the whole world, and some doctors are good, some doctors are not. That's why we have Centers of Excellence. Centers of Excellence have a decreased mortality rate. In fact, Eastern Maine Medical Center's mortality rate is less than 5%, 0.5%, not 5%, but 0.5%. So that's, you know, that's pretty low. So I'm thinking, you know, well, how can I relate this 1 out of 350 people die? It seems like a lot, you know, any death is a lot to me. But the more I looked into it, you know, they're considering all the people that have ever, you know, that have had the gastric bypass surgery. And some people start out healthier and sicker. And some people are so sick when they have the gastric bypass surgery that their mortality rate jumps up to like 4%. A little less sicker, you know, that's a 2% chance of death. The national average is a 1% chance of death following gastric bypass surgery, but most patients fall into the categories that are less than that, which is in the healthier side. Most of us who go and get it are younger. We don't have too many comorbidities that are pressing to the point where if we don't have this surgery next week, we're going to die. Yes, diabetes and all those things are pressing, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, they have something major going on that they need to reduce their weight very quickly. So most people have a 0.2 to 0.5% mortality rate after gastric bypass surgery. And, you know, I love The Biggest Loser, and don't get me wrong and everything. And I am so proud of Shay for the weight that she lost. But the percentage of people out there, real people out there, that don't have Jillian, don't have, you know, a trainer there to motivate them, to get them to do exactly what they want to do, all that training that they went through in such an intensity that, you know, I'm a little disappointed with The Biggest Loser with their estimate of mortality rate, and that, you know, anybody can get right out there and do, you know, lose this huge amount of weight that this girl lost on her own. And actually, what's out there for studies shows that it's a 99% failure rate for normal, average people that don't have a trainer sitting in their home. And, you know, to me, 99% failure rate versus a maybe 0.5% mortality risk.
Yeah, that
is
who pays the bills while they're on the camp too, you know?
Well, right. I mean, so anyway, I was just disappointed in The Biggest Loser for their statistic and saying and sending a message out to the rest of the United States that you can conquer your problems with obesity by just diet and exercise, because I did that and I tried that and I was definitely part of the statistics with 99% failure rate, and now I am healthy and losing and getting in my exercise. And yes, when you're that big, you have a hard time running and walking. Jillian kicked their butts. And some of those times I wonder, how high was their heart rate when they were running on that treadmill at 400 pounds? You know, there is a point where you have to stop. I mean, above 189, and you're running a risk of heart attack and all kinds of stuff. According to the research that I've looked at, and I've looked at many different places, and that are good scientific medical records in their statistics for mortality rate after gastric bypass surgery, and I've looked at other procedures. Gallbladder removal has a 0.9% mortality rate. A hernia repair, depending on whether it's an emergency hernia repair or not, is over 1% mortality rate. So it's as dangerous to go in and have your gallbladder removed as it is to go in and have the gastric bypass surgery. Now, there are some things that can happen, complications that can happen after the surgery. I've looked up, and the highest rate is gastro problems is 2%. Pneumonia is a 1% chance of pneumonia after surgery. You got a 2% chance of a transfusion after surgery. You have less than 1% chance for an ulcer down the line. You have a 1% chance of iron deficiency, but it's rare, especially nowadays because of the iron replacements that we've been taking. B12 deficiency, that's why we have to take the B12, and it's very rare to have a problem with B12 after you've been taking B12 replacements. Hernia, you got a 10% chance of getting a hernia after this. Psychological changes, you can have a 5 to 10% chance. That's pretty high. Actually, the highest complication after surgery is psychological factors, which I'm glad that my Center of Excellence really focused in on how to deal with those psychological problems and when to know you need to go back to the doctor. You have a less than 1% chance for small bowel obstruction. And if you go into other surgeries, you're going to find some of these same things. You got a less than 2% chance of the staple line leaking. There's always risks with surgery. But I don't think that the doctor on The Biggest Loser was correct with his statement on 1 out of 10 people die. I think the rate is a lot lower than that. And you got to remember, we were talking about people that are, when they're looking at these people, some of these people didn't go to a Center of Excellence. Some of these people chose really crappy doctors and got absolutely no pre-care. Some people are extremely sick on their deathbeds already before, and the doctor says, well, we can lose weight and we need to lose weight fast, and they get them in there to have gastric bypass surgery and they lose weight. I don't know, I'm not a doctor. I'd like to ask my doctor what she thinks the mortality rate is and in our area. But I think you got to remember that a lot of factors weigh in on this. Average healthy people that were maybe pre-diabetic, had some elevated blood pressure, were having just general knee pain, things like that. Those are the people that usually are going in to have the gastric bypass now. Their mortality rate is nowhere near what the doctor said. And in fact, yes, it would be great if we could all end up losing like Shay did. And I give all props to her. She did it. She's awesome. But she is at a very high risk of regaining the weight back. And she's also one person on a show that only takes how many contestants out of this whole country of morbidly obese people? I don't think